I would like to call to order tonight's regular meeting of the Monee Village Board of Trustees for November 17th, 2021, 6:32. If I could please ask Kevin DeVries from Monee Free Methodist to come up for the invocation.
Good evening, Mayor,
Good
trustees.
evening.
Good to have you all here. Good to be here. Let's pray, shall we? Father, we pause in the midst of our busyness to just recognize that you are God. You are the one that has given us the breath in our lungs, and we want to give thanks during this Thanksgiving season. Lord, we give you thanks for this day, for this chance to gather here and do this business that we're a part of. We thank you for this community. Thank you for the families that are make up this community, for the children, for those who serve our community and our fire and police and our village officials. We pray your blessing over them of wisdom and guidance. And Lord, we thank you for this country and the privileges that it gives us. Lord, with those privileges, would you just enable us to think of our neighbor more and more? Lord, as we come into this holiday season, it's easier to think about our neighbor and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And Lord, help that to be an all year round thing. May we in Monee be a community that is known for loving our neighbor as ourselves, for looking out for the least of these. And so, Lord, we just ask now your blessing over the affairs of this meeting and over this community. May your name be glorified, and we pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Donisha, roll call, please.
Trustee Gonzalez. Here. Trustee Horn.
Here.
Trustee Razik. Trustee Rakes. Trustee Wilson.
Present.
Trustee Udris.
Present.
Okay, open to the public. Agenda items only, please. Okay, moving on then to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion, please, to accept?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
Any discussion on that at all? All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Horn.
Yes.
Trustee Rakes. Yes. Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Trustee Udris.
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Yes.
Okay, Clerks Report, Donisha.
Thank you, Mayor Bogues. No real report other than I know that this is our meeting for the month of November, and I just want to wish everyone here, as well as all of our residents, a very happy Thanksgiving and enjoy your family. And a report.
Awesome, thank you. For my report, the first item is the review of the tax levy. Every December, the village is tasked with setting the levy for property taxes. This is always a complicated and tough decision to make. We understand that rising taxes as well as inflation could be catastrophic to our residents. The village over the past 3 years has been able to hold its share of the property tax bill steady without any increase in the municipal rate. During this time, the village has been able to increase its reserves by more than 100% while also accomplishing its budgeted goals. This year, we would look to do the same in not increasing the levy. We understand that this can't be done every year, but we also understand that just because the village has the ability to increase its levy doesn't mean that it should.
Amen.
The village's general fund ended the previous year with a surplus, and with that, the village has been afforded the ability to not seek a levy increase. Because of such surplus, the village will use those surplus funds in place of any levy increase that would have been requested. We believe firmly in living within our means and will continue to monitor our revenue and expenses. As an administration, we will continue to look at ways to better serve the residents of the village of Monee. Okay, that being said, item now number 2, we do have a presentation by Robinson Engineering. So Jeff and Keith, the floor is yours, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. So I'm Jeff Agan, Robinson Engineering. This is Keith Mulholland, a senior engineer from our office as well. So the village had asked us to look at, talk about the existing water main network on the west side of I-57. Kind of explain a little bit the existing conditions out there and also discuss some ideas and ways that we potentially could improve the network over in that area. So what we're looking at here on the screen is the village's water main atlas. So all the blue lines that you see are actual water main. And then just for reference, this north-south roadway here, that's I-57, and then Monee Manhattan Road runs east and west, and we've got the Thornton's gas station, the large warehouse BR4 to the north of Thornton's, Amazon, and then the Monee truck facility, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes here, a little bit further in detail. Currently, there's only one water main crossing across 57. So essentially, the whole west side of I-57 is just served by that one water main crossing there. There's also no water main along Sunset, which is the frontage road along here. That's just on the west side of I-57. And there's also not a looped water main network on the west side. And so when I say looped, what a looped network is any segment of water main that's fed from multiple directions, essentially. So if you look over here, for instance, along Ruby, there's multiple feeds, and there's a loop, essentially, almost like a circle. So if there was a water main break at any particular spot, the whole general vicinity, you may have your water shut off, if you're right near that break, but the whole general vicinity should still be able to maintain water main service. So one of the concerns with only having the one water main crossing here at I-57 is if there is a water main break in the vicinity of the crossing, there's not that looped network. So essentially, if water is cut off here, the whole west side of the village, water is cut off, and there's no source for potable water, or fire protection purposes. Also, with only having the one feed across, there are some capacity concerns as it relates to potable water supply and also firefighting capabilities. There's been pressure concerns in the past, and also there's limited opportunities for potential future developments to connect to the water main network in that vicinity because of the limited amount of water main that currently exists over there. So I had mentioned the Monee truck facility. This is a site plan that was submitted to the village. Monee truck facility is located just north of Ozinga plant, and it's on the west side of Sunset, and they're looking to put a proposed building up there. There's an existing building to the west, and they're looking to add a building to the east. The proposed building is 12,000 square feet. The Monee Fire Protection District requires sprinkler systems for buildings larger than 5,000 square feet. So without having a water main along Sunset Drive there, there's no source of municipal water for both potable and fire protection systems, sprinkler systems. Currently, there's a well that serves the existing building. So one of the considerations here is to add water main along Sunset Drive. The yellow line here that you see would be represents a approximate 2,000-foot water main extension from the existing crossing of I-57 south to the south end of Sunset Drive. And what that would do is it would provide a water source for Monee truck facility to connect to, a municipal water source, as well as the other existing buildings and businesses that are along Sunset. It'll provide fire hydrants along the roadway as well, which also helps with firefighting capabilities. It would allow also for a future development, to the south and to the west, a connection point to tie on, so they could also have a source of water with the development as well. So then another consideration would be what's represented here in the yellow line, which would be a Ridgeland Bruns water main loop. And this would be around 4,700 lineal feet of water main. And it would connect to the existing water main stub at Industrial Drive in Cleveland, come under I-57, work its way west to Ridgeland, and then turn west on Ridgeland and head north and connect to the existing water main stub near Lakeway Drive. So what this would do is this would provide that secondary loop to the west side of I-57. So if there were to be a water main failure or break, say up here at the existing crossing, the west side would still be backfed and fed from Bruns and Ridgeland, and water service would still be able to be maintained, in the whole region there, in area to the west of I-57. It provides increased capacity as well for firefighting purposes, because we've got the two connections, so there's more volume of water to draw from. There'll be additional fire hydrants along the route of the installed water main, which allows additional locations for the fire department to connect to. And in addition, it will provide opportunities to develop for future development, to the south and west of that intersection of Bruns and Ridgeland Avenue.
So earlier this summer, I worked with Ed's team in the water department to come up with a risk and resilience assessment for the village's water system. This was an unfunded mandate by the EPA. Thank your government. But what it required was us to look at your water system and the distribution system and look for any issues that may be there as far as increased risks to the community, what kind of resilience you had. So for example, you have 3 wells right now. If the village had only 1, and that 1 well went down, then you would lose your water source. The village has 3 wells, so there's some redundancy there, right? If 1 well goes out, for example, you have your other 2 wells to provide water. A couple of the things that we did talk about, or that I'd worked with Ed in the long-term planning, was one of them was, as on this page, it was a crossing of I-57 to provide redundancy for the customers on that side of the village. This report wasn't looking necessarily at future growth, but it was looking at what you have as your existing system. So the customers there would have, with another crossing, would have that redundancy that Jeff had mentioned. The other item that was talked about was a potential either elevated water storage tank or another well on the west side of 57. Currently, all of your water source, which is your wells, and all of your water storage, which is your elevated tanks, are on the east side of 57. And your wells provide the water, the elevated tanks provide the pressure in your system. So here is the picture. Here's a picture on the right of your newest water tower and well house, and on the left is a schematic of a water tower. I just wanted to bring this up quickly. A lot of people may not be aware of how a water tower functions. All of the water storage in the tower is in the ball at the top of the structure. The shaft that rises and the base at the bottom are actually empty, except for a water main that just runs up into that bowl to put water into it when the pumps at your well kick on, and then to take water out when customers in the system use water, residents or businesses. The base is actually empty, as I said. There's a room that is in there. It's a sealed room. It's a secure room. There's actually sampling taps in there, so your water department can go into the water tower, sample your water at that point, and that's one of the locations they go to make sure that you have potable, safe water in your community. The shaft going to the top actually has an empty tube that goes through the bowl so that you can access the top of the water tower. There's a navigation light up there and some safety railing, and then they do the inspections. I'm pretty terrified of heights, so that's not a place I would want to work, but there are people that do it. And as I mentioned, the little brown building to the left with the 2 white doors is the well house, which is where the well and the pumps are kept, as well as all the chemicals and pumps needed to treat the water before it goes into your distribution system. This is similar to the drawing that Jeff had up earlier. The 2 yellow segments are what he had mentioned for potential water lines that would provide a loop to the west side as well as get water to Sunset Drive for the customers that are there. You know, again, we had mentioned in the report of the risk and resilience of a potential well on the west side of the interstate that would help provide another water source. It also helps spread your wells out. You don't want all your wells in one location because they're all pulling out of the same aquifer. And then just from a logistics standpoint, if there was an incident or some kind of problem at one of your well sites, if all of your wells are in close proximity, it could actually impact all of your wells. So this spreads them out over the area and helps provide a little protection for that. But on the pink line on this page actually represents, you know, that's an area that's mostly undeveloped currently. As the village provides water mains for the main roads, as the developments come in, they can actually extend and install these water mains through the development to serve their own businesses, as well as potentially connect on to the next business that may come along.
So, in summary here, just implementing the water main improvements on the west side of I-57. It'll provide that water main loop on the west side of I-57 that we talked about, which provides that redundancy. You know, should there be a failure in the vicinity of the existing crossing, that whole west side, you know, Amazon, DR4, Thornton's, would not be out of water. There would be that secondary loop and route to get that water up to serve those businesses. From a capacity standpoint, you know, with improved capacity, you'd have, you know, two different locations where you could, in water main, where you could pull that water from, you know, for the firefighting purposes and for potable water as well. And you know, also it helped increase the pressure as well, especially as, you know, more loops get added to the network. It provides a water source for the future and also existing businesses, you know, that are west of I-57 and those that are along the route of the proposed projects of Sunset and Ridgeland and Bruns. Provides improved firefighting capabilities, again, you know, with the capacity, and then also fire hydrants that would be constructed along the route of the water main. And the Fire Protection District is in support of improvements and doing some work over there on the west side of 57 to help the situation over there. And then, you know, lastly, it increases the opportunity for development. It's a proactive step that the village can take to be ready for when you know, developments are planned and looking to come into the area. And then also, like we mentioned, you know, it provides a water source for potential expansion to the west and south of that intersection of Ridgeland and Bruns. So, with that, do you have any questions?
Gentlemen, thanks for your developing this. Couple questions for you. So is this, and if we go back to the extension on Sunset, if you could go back to that one, that PowerPoint. That one, yeah. So are you offering this up as 3 phases or 3 options?
It would be 3 phases, you know, with the initial ones being Sunset and Ridgeland. It could be, you know, as one project, or it could be separate projects depending upon, you know, the village's desires. And
For this one here, could you, if we did it, if we put in a pipeline on Sunset, at the south end of that pipeline, could you bring it across 57 there?
yes,
And would that also be considered a loop when you did that?
yes. So essentially, what you're referring to is extending that south to Bruns, and then heading east under I-57 and connecting over here in the vicinity of the existing water main at Cleveland.
Well, I mean, it could be done there. I was thinking further up, and I don't know what street that is. At the south end of this pipipeline.
Yes.
If you go across the street.
That's Cleveland as well. It curves around as it heads north.
Oh, okay, Cleveland,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep, you could do that, but there still would be the vulnerability of, you know, you would have this network, this segment here, where if there would be a water main break, you know, here north of Mr. Cockle's property,
Okay.
you know, you would be in the same situation where, you know, you would be out of water on that west side of I-57. And it's not, you know, from a long-term standpoint, you know, as far as you start thinking about development and other things, it wouldn't be as beneficial that way.
Crossing I-57 is going to be more expensive than a standard water main because it's a state highway, the interstate right-of-way. You can't work from within the right-of-way, so you actually have to bore a casing across their property, the state's property. It's an empty tube, and then you put your water main in it. So because of the higher cost of that, it would, again, it's going to cost more even to put it further south because you'd have to loop further back to the north. But the further apart that you can get those, the better off you would be. As Jeff mentioned, if you have 2 water main crossings, but then they combine up at the north end to one point again, you're still at a location where something that could occur to that section of water main, and it would still cut off the customers on the west side. You would have a little bit of looping. Sunset would be looped at that point because you'd have the source coming in from the south. That's just why we had shown it further to the south yet and looping in further over on Ridgeland.
Yep, and then that allows also, you know, more capability and locations to tie on with future developments, and also would help the businesses along Ridgeland and Bruns as well.
And I just got a couple too, and I don't know, it may be a moot point, or I don't even know, for the one existing main that's there now. Do we have any idea how old that main is or when that was first placed?
I do not know that off the top of my head.
You don't? Come on. All right, because
I
I'm.
can check with that and get back to you.
And that's, and I guess, like I said, it might be a moot point, but I'm, curious to see, timetable, if we need to get this done, if it's 20, 30, 40 years old, are we in danger of something already happening before this, a new part gets, before we have a loop?
Yep, I'll follow up with Public Works, and they may know that.
So the one question that I have in listening to you talk, and I don't know quite how to ask this, but which is more important, creating that loop on the west side or getting a well on the west side to where they almost, would that create a situation where they don't need the loop as much, or?
I mean, a loop still would be.
A well provides a source of water.
Right.
So you can get water out of the ground. Again, they work in conjunction with your elevated tanks because they pump it into your system that then fills up your tanks, and that's what gives you the pressure in your system. If you put a well on the west side, it gives you another source to add to your distribution system. But unless you have an elevated tank or some other types of storage that would keep the pressure in the system, if the crossing at I-57 fails, you can run your system off of your wells, and in fact, in some communities where they may only have one water tower, they put pressure relief valves on hydrants, and when the pumps kick on, it keeps the pressure in the system, but the problem is those pumps kick on and off, and they're really hard. The water towers help regulate that because the water level in them fluctuates very slowly, so the water pressure changes slowly. But putting a well on that side, if the water main were to cross I-57 were to fail, yes, there are ways you could keep water for those customers. At this point, adding another well is it's a long-term goal, but your existing wells do have capacity to supply the village.
Okay, so creating that loop is really more vital in terms of what to do first.
That would be my suggestion, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and I think what Scott's asking too is like the chicken and the egg, so would we be better putting the well and tower there first and then get that loop in there, so we can supply that side, or?
Well, with that loop, there is sufficient capacity right now on the east side of the village, both with the elevated tanks and with the existing wells. So, providing that loop will basically help you utilize the existing infrastructure that's over there right now that's sufficient. And then, by providing that loop, then you still would get the benefit of the redundancy, fire protection, and providing service to the businesses over there, and also having locations for the developments to connect to as well.
Thank you,
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
just a question on this for administration. Do we have any next steps planned here, or what is the next step, I guess, is what I'm asking? Have we thought of that?
I would think to bring something up for next, oh, sorry. Doug, I would think there would be something that would come up for vote at next meeting, perhaps. Sure, yeah, so,
But would the plan be to, as I asked, as the engineers talked about, doing it in 3 phases, 2 phases, 1 phase?
I think once we get breakdown of cost and
Okay.
timeline, they'll help us make our decision as to how much and when.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, moving on to the officials' reports. Public Works, Trustee Horn, please.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back. About 5 items here, so bear with me. There's a lot of work if you drive around town. There's a lot of work going on, and of course, we are trying to get it all done before we have true winter weather. Now, we've had snow flying, unfortunately, already, but it hasn't accumulated, and actually today was a very nice day to be out, 60 degrees. So here's what we got going. Paving of driveway aprons in areas where resurfacing has been completed. It was done today. And then completion of the concrete swales on Bradford Court. The forms have been placed on the north side. Concrete is expected to be poured tomorrow. Pouring of concrete was delayed today due to weather. Milling of Bradford Court and Main Street. Hopefully that'll be on Friday. And landscape restoration in areas already affected should be underway next week. Of course, as we know, all this is weather permitting. Margaret Street Water Main Project. This project is in its second full week. Water main is being replaced along Margaret Street from Ruby Street to Will Center Road and is being extended north on Ruby and Will Center to connect to existing water main. The majority of the mainline pipe has been installed, interconnects with existing water main, expected to be completed by the end of this week. Water tower number 2, repainting project. The interior of the elevated tank has been painted and is being refilled this week. I know, I looked at that schematic. That looked really interesting on the inside. I'd like to go in there sometime. Anyways, after lab testing, this tank is expected to be placed back in service by the middle of next week. Approaching cold water has forced us to delay the exterior painting until spring 2022, at which time the tank will be painted using the same white and blue design as Tank 3, which is our newest one on Country Fair Drive. Branch pickup. Due to expected inclement weather, our final branch pickup of the season has been postponed 1 day and will be Thursday and Friday, November 18th and 19th. Branches should be placed at the curb with the cut-ins facing the street. Please note that branches will not be picked up after Friday, November 19th. Now, lastly, this I view as a complete mixed bag, good and bad news. The good news is that DPW snow fighting equipment has been assembled and is ready for the season. Our salt dome is full, and we are making batches of salt brine daily to fill our storage tanks. We are prepared for the winter weather, and we'll do our best to keep the roads safe for our motorists. Please remember that parking is restricted on village streets after 2 inches of snow has fallen until snow removal operations have been completed. So that's the good news. Is the bad news that we actually have to have snow removal equipment. End of report.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, Trustee Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I have several items tonight too, so please bear with me as well. So as the holiday season gears up, we have a lot of stuff coming up within the village, and I'm very excited to talk about that. First of all is our holiday giving program. Collections of unwrapped toys, hats, gloves, and canned food are being collected in bins. at the Village Hall, at Brian's Place, Straight Home Bar and Grill, Shoup's Dollar General, Living Creek, and at the Park Building until December 13th. Those donations will be brought to Monee Elementary and the food pantry to be distributed with our, to our own neighbors. Also, kids can write a letter to Santa and bring it to Village Hall. There's a special mailbox that the elves check daily, I assure you. Please be sure your child's name and address is clearly written. Deadlines for those is also December 13th. Our holiday house decorating contest too, so I know we probably have a shoe-in winner. However, I would challenge, I was at a meeting in a neighboring town, and last year they had 90 homes decorated throughout the village for, for people to come and buy. So I challenge the Village of Monee, let's get over 90 homes decorated and submitted to the village for our, our holiday contest. The Village of Monee, and those forms can be found on our website as well. The Village of Monee will be holding our annual tree lighting on Friday, December 3rd. The ceremony, the whole thing is 6 to 7:30 in front of Village Hall at that really big tree in front of the village. Santa will be lighting the tree, and then we'll be going over to the Fireman's Park building for hot chocolate and cookies provided from the Monee Women's Club. And this year, too, something new and exciting for our village. We're going to be honoring a very special woman in the village that we just lost recently. As part of our tree lighting ceremony this year, we're going to do holiday luminaries. Does everybody know what a holiday luminary is? So also around our tree, we are going to have lighted white bags. So the idea for a luminary is to honor, to remember, to say a prayer, say a special wish for somebody through the holiday season. So these bags will be available. They're white bags. They'll be placed around the tree. And at the ceremony, we'll be reading the names and the notes of the special wishes for those luminaries. And these forms will be on the website, as well as at Village Hall and the Fireman's Park building. So, and I would really, really like to see this kind of take off, and we all know somebody, at least one somebody who needs a special wish this season. So we'd really like to have this as part of our tree lighting ceremony this year. And then we also have the Monee Women's Club is doing a Poinsettia Fundraiser, and last year was the first year we did it. And I don't know if anybody saw those poinsettias last year. They are ginormous and they're gorgeous. And for a very, very nominal fee, those are the orders are being collected now through November 29th, and those forms can be also found on the village Facebook page, the Women's Club Facebook page, and forms will be available in the lobby as well. And those will be delivered on December 8th. Wednesday, is that Wednesday is December 8th. And Second Place Church and Provision Lab will be hosting a mobile food truck on Saturday, December 4th from 9 to 10:30 at the Gulf Vista Clubhouse parking lot. And last thing, as long as I have, and I would like to say too to Pastor Kevin, my sincere condolences. End of report.
Great, thank you, Heidi. Finance, Trustee Rakis?
No reports tonight, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Economic Development, Trustee Wilson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. No new business license have been issued. Talks with New Life Physical Therapy have begun in reference future development. Research has begun in reference much-needed grocery store. The village is currently working on an economic development video in order to entice new business and to bring those businesses which we are looking to bring to the village. We have to give them a reason why. We all know the reason why, but we have to portray that to the folks that do not live here and why they should invest in Monee. So that'll be coming out. A traffic study is currently underway that is tied into our talks with Seafree and Northern Builders in reference commercial development. I would like to encourage everyone to shop Monee, especially during the holiday season. Every dollar makes a difference. End of report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Safety, Trustee Udris.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, for emergency management, EMA had 3 of their responders attend a multi-agency training on outdoor large area searches, and they will actually be working with the villages of Crete, Beecher, and Lamont on creating a consolidated specialized team for that. And then on November 14th, EMA assisted Will County Sheriff's Police in a multi-agency request for a missing person. EMA provided ATV support, and after a long, cold morning, the subject was located and transported for some medical attention. From Monee Police Department, time to remember that it's No Shave November. So for those of you new to the board or new to this, No Shave November campaign is observed every year. It's in order to raise awareness around the hair which cancer patients lose. The motive behind No Shave November is to let our hair grow freely and to donate the money that we spend on hair care to cancer patients. So about 3 years ago, Monee PD started a tradition of allowing neatly kept facial hair year-round as long as these officers paid for the right to do so every November. In the last 3 years, Monee PD No Shave funds have went to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, the Ronald McDonald House, and Honor Flight of Chicago, and has also sponsored a homeless veteran every Christmas. So if you notice that your favorite police officer is looking a little grubby this month, just remember that it is all for a good cause. It just doesn't grow that much freely anymore. And then lastly, after our last board meeting on October 27th, a couple people that were in attendance of that meeting ended up testing positive for COVID-19. Everybody that attended that meeting was notified of the possible exposure. And just so you know, the following week, Monee saw over 29 cases of new COVID recorded here in town, including 7 employees of the village. 3 village employees also came down with a non-COVID upper respiratory infection. In an effort to keep the village departments and buildings operational and accessible to the public, we implemented the following actions. A UVC light usage was implemented in high-risk areas. Electrostatic sprayers were ordered and have arrived and been put to use. The village added an in-house bulk monofoil solution distribution system at both Parks and EMA. And we're going to continue to monitor the usage rates and make sure that this stays available at all village buildings. You see for the board meeting tonight, before the board meeting tonight, the entryway and boardroom were disinfected prior to the meeting, and this will be repeated after the meeting is over. Tonight for our executive session, it actually will be held here in the boardroom, so non-approved occupants for that session will be cleared while we have the executive session meeting out here in a wider area. Masks and hand sanitizer have been made available to everybody tonight and will continue to be available at the Village Hall. The village staff is holding weekly meetings to make sure that they monitor the progress and make sure that any of these changes, any changes that are needed are made. Department heads have also been instructed to make sure that they monitor their employees and make sure that employees are maintaining social distancing, mask usage, and hand sanitizer. Department heads have also been instructed to stress to all employees, and I stress to everybody listening, if you feel sick, stay home. Department heads have also been working on contingency plans in the event that any high number of cases could start to affect their ability to function and provide the services that we need here in town. So just know that we're continuing to monitor the situation, trying to make any necessary adjustments and changes to fit the situation as needed. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact the village. Thank you. End of report.
Great, thank you, Scott. Moving on to the attorney's report, Larry.
Thank you, Mayor. I have several items for the board's consideration. The first item is a TIF payout request to AP Ridgeland LLC, 25850 South Ridgeland. This amount is $709,561.94.
And may I have a motion, please, for the payout?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion regarding that. Roll call, please.
Trustee Rakes,
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. The next item is an ordinance for a variance for Charles Gorman, 5159 West Main Street. The zoning board held a public hearing, I believe 2 weeks ago. They voted in favor of the variance request. It's up for the board's review and consideration.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Any discussion on that? Questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Rakis?
yes,
Ordinance number 1992.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item, if the board recalls, Monee Venture 5 is also Northern Builders. They have proposed a project on both sides of I-57. The financial aspect of the project has remained intact. Recently, an issue came up with respect to utility service. So at this point in time, I don't think we are in a position to vote on that redevelopment agreement because Northern has made some requests from us, and I know Jeff and his team are working on it, but I would respectfully indicate or suggest that this matter be tabled at least until the next meeting, which I believe is December 15th.
Did you say that was on the issue with utility service?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
what you're-
Yes, sir. The money part has remained constant,
Mm-hmm.
but the utility part is, the utility segment, has to be reviewed by Jeff and his team. There are some aspects that we have to really consider.
If I would, Jeff, could you speak on that for a moment?
Sure, so with Aqua, Illinois, they will provide the treatment. They need to expand their facility planning area to include the area south of Industrial Drive. And there's also sanitary sewer capacity concerns as well, downstream and lift station sizing and capacities being looked into.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion then to postpone this till the December meeting?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that at all? Roll call, please.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Rakis?
yes,
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item, the Tesco proposal, we can table that if it's okay with the mayor and the board. This is for potential annexation into the village that may be coming into the village off Ridgeland Avenue, but the individual who is asking to annex is going to ask for a TIF area designation, and you need a professional to make that determination. But at the present time, if we could table this till December, I believe the gentleman will be coming in the next board meeting to introduce himself. We can
Can-
table it to December 15th.
Can I have a motion
I'll
then to
make that,
postpone?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second it.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Rakis?
yes,
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is a payout, number one, a parcel to Jetco. This is with respect to water tower number 2. The amount of the payout is $181,621.80.
Can I have a motion, please, to make that payment?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second.
Any discussion whatsoever? Can I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Rakis?
yes,
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is also a payout. This is number 6 to Aries Incorporated. This is with respect to the Industrial Drive project. The amount's $147,685.08.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Rakis?
yes,
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. The next item is also TIF payout. This one's to BC Development in the amount of $108,388.01. We will have this the final payout will be 2 years from now, but we are making a lot of progress.
Can I please have a motion to approve that payment?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Rakis?
Thank you, Mayor. Number 8, we've already discussed that under the previous agenda. We are continuing that. Monee, Venture 5, and BC Development are the same entity. Number 8, just for an update for the mayor, number 9, update for the mayor and the board regarding Seafree development. If the board recalls, they came in roughly a month ago. They're the individuals through Dave Reefy who are wanting to develop a spec building on Ridgeland Avenue. We did ask for a traffic study from them. We just received the traffic study, I believe, roughly 2 weeks ago, if that. We did ask Seafree for some more time to review it. I know Jeff and his team has got a copy. I believe a copy has been forwarded to Ruben. But at this time, we are not in a position to sign any type of agreement until the traffic study and our own analysis is done. I know Mr. Henney from LFI is here tonight. They own the property. I know they're anxious, but until we know what the traffic implications are, I think it's very important. And the financial aspect, again, that has not changed. It's very, almost identical northern. But the traffic is going to be something that's got to be reviewed. I don't think any action is necessary at this time.
If I would, Jeff, what do you think the time frame is going to be on that after reviewing the traffic study?
Well, the village is having their own independent traffic study done as well. And we're going to forward the traffic studies to the county for their input as well. So, obviously probably within, a week or so we could have discussions with the village as far as the traffic. We've had some preliminary discussions already with them and also with the development team.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is second place church TIF eligible expenses. If the board recalls, they made the pastors made a presentation at the last meeting with respect to TIF assistance for their project. I did check with Tesca, who is our urban planner, as to how much of the expenses are TIF eligible. They reviewed the proposal or the proposed expenses. The vast majority of those expenses are TIF eligible with the exception of permitting, which is a minor cost, I believe, and also anything to do with the coffee shop that is not TIF eligible. Right now, at this point in time, I guess it's something that has to be reviewed as to how much the village could offer the applicant. They are TIF eligible. I would say, remember, this is non-income producing. Because it is exempt. So we usually say, from a TIF standpoint, the real estate taxes generated from that site reimburse the developer, like we did tonight with BC and Ridgeland. That's all their real estate taxes. Here, the board, if they deem appropriate, you go into the TIF fund and reimburse the applicant, but with no expectation of it coming back. So, and the other thing too that's important, as I mentioned before, when we reimburse an applicant, those expenses have already been paid for, whether it be land acquisition, engineering, water main, sewer main. all we're doing, we ask for receipts like we did Eat the Bone, show us your receipts. The receipt the applicant has right now that's probably TIF eligible would be the real estate. They bought that out of pocket. The other expenses are anticipated expenses, and we got to have receipts. It's like I told Mr. Terrell, I believe. It's so important we keep that book in case we're ever questioned by anyone. So,
Do we need to table that, or
pardon me?
do we need to table that, or is this just an update? So, discussion?
Yes, sir. I don't have a redevelopment agreement completed yet.
Okay.
I do have the framework of an agreement. Pardon me?
This is more of an update, right?
Absolutely.
I did have a question. Maybe this would be directed to second place. We mentioned that, of course, the church is a nonprofit. Is the Historia Coffee component, the coffee shop component, would that be, in your envisioning, would that be a for-profit venture? Did you want to give a comment on that?
Sure. I mean, at this time, as we plan ahead, that's a possibility. And if it's, it's a wise move, then we would look into making that happen. So.
Okay.
So is that why you said that anything related to Astoria would not be TIF reimbursable?
Yeah, and that's what I want to make sure with Pete. We historically, if there's any question about whether it would be TIF eligible or not, he sends us a report, which I forwarded to Ruben. But again, the vast majority are TIF eligible.
Okay, so you're just to clarify, if it's for-profit, it's not TIF eligible?
Well,
I misheard this probably.
basically, what I'm trying to convey is that we usually reimburse an applicant from the real estate taxes generated from the site.
Yeah,
Here,
right.
there's absolutely no money coming in
Right.
to pay it. So what we do, you're going to take from that TIF fund, if you deem appropriate, and it's not coming back in that TIF fund.
So
Okay.
But Doug, I think the question about the coffee shop, Tesco's letter says that the expenses for the equipment, which is basically what's going to be used for the coffee shop, so it's not a construction, it's more of an equipment, so the equipment itself is not
not eligible.
TIF eligible.
So, and then I just want to make sure that, we all understand, I think Larry pretty much explained it, that it's kind of like a pay-as-you-go afterwards, so the village reimburses these funds, like he just said, like the sale of the property. So whatever is TIF eligible from that receipt, we are eligible to pay you from our TIF funds. And then as we keep going, or as we keep going in the development of it, you receive those receipts, and those eligible, we pay you then. So it's not that we can give you the whole thing all at once, right? Okay.
May I add one thing?
Of course.
Sir, the other thing too, we would do a redevelopment agreement, and in the agreement, we would spell out, this is what you're owed. So there's some security from your standpoint. So we say, just hypothetically, $400,000, I'm just throwing a number out. You would be entitled, at this point in time, for your real estate, which is 100, I think you paid for it, or something like that. And then when you get the other TIF expenses, you come before the mayor and the board and say, I paid A, B, and C, and then the board authorizes another payment to you.
Can I make a clarification?
Sure.
We have not filed for tax exemption on that property as of yet. Talking to our attorney, there is going to be some conversation with the county in terms of that, just because of the apartments upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to really kind of like navigate that, and as we look ahead to, this agreement coming from you guys and how will we negotiate that. So I wouldn't presume just yet that it's going to be a tax exempt property. However, that may be the case. So I think what you're saying is important to hear. But it's because it's a mixed use facility. It is owned by a church. But there is some conversations that do need to happen, so.
Then I would say we still would need, regardless of it's tax exempt or not, we could still go ahead with a redevelopment agreement.
Yeah.
Depending
Mhm.
on, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Mayor. And the last item I have for the board's consideration, this is payout number 2 to Iroquois Paving Company. This is for the maintenance drainage water project. The amount's $416,662.92.
Can I have a motion, please, to make that payment?
I'll make that motion.
No second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Rakis?
yes,
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
And if I may just add that Iroquois Paving did a beautiful job of patching the hole on Orchard Trail, putting that to rest. They did a gorgeous job with that.
Thank goodness.
Okay. Thank you very much, Larry. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Can I please have a motion to bring the discussion/approval of the ordinance amending Title 11, Chapter 6, Section 7 of the Village Code back to open?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Rakis?
yes,
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Okay, so as of, I want to say maybe 2 meetings ago or so, this was an amendment that we're looking for the ordinance regarding the back-to-back fencing, and I know there were initially some questions, so back open for discussion, I guess, before.
So I wondered if Romy had a chance to talk to planning and zoning, and have we got their buy-in, or what, how they envision it, and, or does it match their current code or ordinance?
And that I don't know if he has or not.
I think that was the crux of the matter, right? Waiting to get a second report from him.
I think we need to hear from planning and zoning.
So just to give a heads up, so since this is something that has been postponed for more than one meeting and it's not been finished, what will happen is right now it dies, and at a later time, you guys can bring it back up on the board for a decision.
Okay. Okay, anything, any new business from anybody? Okay, moving on to open to the public, non-agenda items. Okay, and there will not be executive session this evening, so if I can please have a motion to adjourn,
Make the motion?
Second?
and roll call, please.
Trustee Horn?
Yes.
Trustee Rakis?
yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Trustee Udris?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
7:30.
7:30,
All right, thank you, everyone.
yes.